Settle right in, ladies, because today we are doing some serious myth busting. We are talking about the elusive, the incredible 10K month milestone. And I want to show you how you can achieve this incredible milestone with less than 2,000 followers. You heard me right. You do not have to be a big creator or a business owner with hundreds of thousands of followers. You do not need viral videos or the latest Instagram trend to achieve this goal. In this episode, I am breaking down the exact strategy that I use to hit my first 10K month with less than 2,000 followers. I'm sharing how to serve, sell, and scale without playing the game of vanity metrics. Welcome to the Dishing Up Digital podcast, where the dress code is sweatpants and the business model is freedom first. I'm your host, Ellen, and I quit my 9-to-5 job because it was sucking the soul out of me, and I figured out the Wi-Fi was better at home anyway. And now I am a proud 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. grind girly, building a business that feels good, pays well, and leaves room for a glass of midday rosé. Around here, we are not chasing the hustle. We're building freedom-first businesses that make an impact on the world without sacrificing our sanity. Whether you're a coach, creator, service provider, or CEO in the making, this podcast is your permission slip to do business your way. With strategy that slaps, mindset that moves, and the vibes that feel like a voice note from your biz bestie, this is Dishing Up Digital, baby. The wine is optional, but revenue isn't. Okay, so first things first, we need to break down the myth of the 10K month, because you keep putting it on a pedestal and thinking you can't achieve it, or you don't have enough followers, or you don't have enough this, that, or the other, when really it is right within reach if you are using the right mindset and the right strategies. Most people think more followers automatically equals more money, but I'm afraid this is not the case. And I have this story I've told a few times on the podcast, but I had a client that I offboarded, one of my social media management clients, a couple of years ago, and I was helping their new social media manager who was replacing me get set up. And it was in that process that I found out that this new social media manager was charging like a fraction of what I had been charging. Yet this was someone who was coming in and had double the amount of followers than me. And it was this eye-opening moment where I realized that just because this person had 20,000 followers and I only had like 3,000 or 4,000 at that time didn't mean that they had it all together, didn't mean that they could automatically charge more. They still needed to learn how to put together a great offer, how to structure an offer, how to sell it. They needed to understand sales psychology. And there's so many other components that go into your business beyond just the marketing and beyond especially your follower count. I really believe a small aligned audience is the real powerhouse in business. We need to be focusing on depth, not reach. And if you ever start to doubt yourself and slip back into this mindset of, oh my God, I need 10,000 followers, may I remind you that views do not pay the bills. I should get this tattooed on my forehead at this stage, the amount of times that I say this over on the podcast, but views do not pay the bill. Clients, customers, they are what pays the bills. So let me break down for you the 4-part framework to achieving your 10K month. Number 1 starts with not your marketing, not your content, none of that stuff. We start with your offer, what you are selling itself. And this is where sometimes like social media strategy gets the blame when in reality, there needs to be more of a business audit in place. Now, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with a lot of the coaches and creators that are preaching about digital products at the moment. And I know I've made videos on digital products. I've recorded podcast episodes talking about how I love digital products and I love multiple revenue streams. However, I feel like there's this narrative going around that's really dangerous around how you can just set up a $27 offer and make 10K months. And for the reality for most of us is we do not have the followers to hit that kind of metric with that kind of offer. And this is where people, there is a truth to you need more followers, right? There is a truth to your audience isn't large enough and there's a cap on the people that you are reaching. And that is why I really encourage you to go down the track of a high ticket or a high impact offer instead of something lower ticket in the digital product world. Let me actually pull out my calculator and do the math on that. If we wanted to make $10,000 with a digital product that was $27, we'd have to sell 370 of them in a month. If, however, we take $10,000 And let's say we have a social media management package, or we have a content package, a UGC package, a copywriting package, anything like that. Or even, like if you're talking from the creator world, you've got a brand deal, and let's price it at $1,500. We only need 6 sales to hit our 10K month goal. So it's really important to have a good hard look at your business and decide, is there an offer here that is gonna take me to this milestone of a 10K month? A high impact offer must have a clear outcome for the customer or the client. We also tend to want this to be priced for transformation, not necessarily trading time for money. So this is where I tend to steer away from jobs or businesses like being a virtual assistant, because you typically are going to get stuck on an hourly rate and trading that time for money. But we could look at something like social media management instead, which again, I'm biased because hello, that's where my business started. But we could look at that, for example, and put together a management package, a strategy package, a content package that was about the value of the package itself, not necessarily about the exact minutes that we spent creating this content or executing this package. Another prime example for this is like a coaching or strategy service. This could be on any niche from the world of social media through to health coaching, through to business coaching, through to dance coaching, anything that suits you in your world. Again, you want to develop this obviously around your skill set, this offer. But if we were to take something like coaching, that's a really great example where it's not necessarily about trading time for money. It's about the value and the transformation that you're offering this potential client. Like, are they coming to you and experiencing this whole health transformation from top to bottom, and that's going to change the rest of their life? Then that's pretty transformational. And it's not just about, the diet plan or the health tests or whatever it might be that you did with them. Not my zone of genius, obviously. I'm pulling these deliverables out of my butt. But this really sums up what a high impact offer could be, and something that you could be charging as a monthly retainer from anywhere from $1,500 up to $2,500, $3,000. Part 2 of the 4-part framework to our 10K months is where we circle back to the content. So we have our high impact offer. It is now time to look at the content. More specifically, we want to be posting content with purpose. So we're not just posting to get cool views and make viral videos, because we already talked about how those are the vanity metrics and those don't pay the bills. We want strategic content that is going to lead people towards our offers. And this is important because there's a balance here. We still want to be creating content to grow our audience. We still want to have an element of that in our strategy. But typically the content that's going to convert into leads, that's going to lead to new inquiries, discovery calls, it's not always the juiciest, most exciting content. Like, we can definitely play around with hooks and the positioning to make a case study really play both parts in terms of huge value and shareability to impact your growth, but also, packed with social proof of what your offer does and the transformation you provide to clients. We can play both games there. But sometimes I see a lot of creators or freelancers or service providers who put up a post and then delete it because it hasn't performed well enough, when the goal of that piece of content wasn't to go viral, wasn't to get a huge amount of reach, wasn't it to bring in likes or build up your community. The goal was to sell. And sometimes you're selling to a smaller portion of your audience. I always love to think of it like a sales funnel, like, the little upside down funnel. The top is the widest part, and that is your top of funnel content. That's going to be bringing awareness of your brand, growing your brand. And as we move down the funnel towards our sales focused content, the funnel gets smaller. We're only targeting a small percentage of people who are landing on our Instagram page, because not everybody is ready to buy yet. And that's okay. And coming back to our previous point, because we don't have to sell 380 digital products, and we just need to get 6 people invested in our high ticket and our high impact offer, it's okay that we're only targeting this small portion of the funnel, right? So content that is focused on selling your offer, that is showcasing your skills and talent, may not necessarily always get the best engagement or the best reach, but it has purpose. And that is the key takeaway from this point. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll put up a post as an example of this. This was a piece of content where I'm specifically addressing one of the pain points of my audience. I obviously coach a lot of social media managers and help them set up their own business, like I have mine. And one of the pain points is people thinking that they they need 1,000 followers or more to book clients, which, is kind of what we're talking about in this video. It's almost like I'm repurposing content ideas across platforms. Regular listeners, you'll know the content repurposing engine working at its finest. But anyway, this was the post. It was a simple mirror selfie. It had the text on top of you need 1,000 followers or something like that to book a client. And then as you swipe through, I had the response from my students. So it was like, this is what people are saying, but here's what my students say instead. So I used it to highlight people who'd been through the Dishing Up Digital School, which number one is kind of like really promoting the program. But I've spun it in a way, instead of going, here's Jade's testimonial, or here's what Mallory found most valuable taking the Dishing Up Digital School, like blah, that's kind of boring. Instead, I've hooked people in with this common misconception, this misbelief that you need all these followers to book your first client. I've hooked them in with that. I've made the content really aesthetic and nice. And then I've hit them with these like examples, with these stories. And that is essentially selling the Dishing Up Digital School. I'm showing the transformation. I'm showing students that have booked clients, that have quit their jobs, that have scaled their business without having thousands and thousands of followers. I understand that's a pain point my customer is experiencing. That's a doubt that they're having and a reason why they're potentially on the fence about signing up to work with me, I should say. And this post is solving that while creating something still valuable for my community. And if I were to look at some of my top posts recently, that one probably isn't in it. I think it did relatively good. Like for a case study style social proof post, it definitely did good because I had that good hook on it. But it wasn't like in my top 5 posts of that month, but that's okay. Again, content with purpose is key here. The third step towards our 10K month is all about a sales process that doesn't just rely on DMs. You'll notice we're a big fan of social media here on the Dishing Up Digital podcast. We talk about it a lot. And I keep saying we, like there's more than one person here. But you guys are listening, so we can be a we. But it's a big topic. I love social media. But you'll notice that we've only touched on social media. We've only touched on content in one point of this 4-part framework. We're already jumping off social media. And that is because as much as social media is this engine in getting you in front of people and creating potential leads in your business, it's not always enough to close the deal. And I think sometimes people spend all their time and energy on social media and they forget there's other steps in the sales process that need to be taken off social media to convert a lead. Now, we do have the fabulous, beautiful favorite clients and customers who will just DM people and be like, yo, sign me up. Like, where's the payment link? We love having customers like that. But a lot of people need to go through a bit more of a process. And if you go have a look at my Instagram, you'll notice that I'm constantly feeding people to free workshops, free workbooks, PDF guides, sending them to, in-depth, longer trainings, whether that's on YouTube or on my website. These are all very intentional funnels that I'm sending people into. A lot of the time, if you're downloading a freebie from me, you're going into an automated email sequence as well. And of course, going on to my email newsletter. So there's like this beautiful ecosystem that's working. And the same thing goes when I have someone inquire for private coaching or consulting services or social media management services. They get a response from me and I'll be putting them into a process where we have a discovery call, or sometimes I call this like a free clarity call, and we get them off social media. Or for an example, like the Dishing Up Digital School, I might send them to my sales page, which is like this full-blown, in-depth, detailed website with everything that's in the program and why they should sign up. And a lot of this stuff, this is like that extra step that I can't cover on social media. Like I can talk about the Dishing Up Digital School all day long, but I can only fit so much into a piece of content, into my carousel posts, into a set of stories before I'm posting like 20 stories and no one's watching them because it's way too long, right? So again, there's a portion of your audience that yes, is ready to buy and they probably want more information from you. So where are you sending them, right? And even if they're in the middle of the funnel, maybe they're not quite ready to buy right away, but can you send them to, again, that free webinar, that free PDF guide? Can you send them into an email sequence, send them into a funnel that will warm them up more and get them ready to buy? There's so many more strategies with your marketing that you can develop beyond just your social media posts. As your business grows, these funnels, these sales systems can get more sophisticated. I used to have one freebie when I got started and it had no email sequence. And then eventually I learned to put an email sequence in there and how to automate that. And then that email sequence grew from, 3 days long to 10 days long to 20 days long. So I slowly kept developing and refining my funnels and my sales systems that came off social media. But my point is I wasn't just relying on Instagram to find someone, to educate them on my offer, to sell them on the offer, and to close in the DMs. Like that sometimes can happen, but most of the time, especially when you're dealing in the world of a high ticket or a high impact offer, when you're selling something over $1,000, people are going to have more questions. They're going to want to go to an FAQ page. They're going to want to come and jump on a discovery call with you. So you need to be prepared and have those systems in place and have a place to send that person who has those questions. And part 4 of our 10K month framework is all about constantly having an audience that is warm. And this kind of brings together the 3 points that we've already talked about, or the 3 parts of this framework. We've got our offer. We're posting content with purpose. We've created some kind of funnel that goes beyond just DMing someone. And then it's just a matter of bringing this all together and constantly feeding it, constantly making sure we're warming up our audience. And I see this a lot with service providers where they maybe get too caught up in serving their clients and then they put their own business on the back burner and maybe they're not posting consistently. And then suddenly like a contract ends or a client ends a contract or, their 6-month coaching program is up and they're like, oh my God, damn, I don't have another client to replace this person who's finished working with me. And this is where you've got to be really disciplined and make sure that you are constantly posting to your audience. You're getting more people into your funnel. You're building a wait list. That is incredibly powerful because then when contracts end, you just contact your wait list and refill it. So you want to make sure there's workshops happening or there's evergreen funnels, there's something happening in the background so that there's always a steady stream of new leads coming in, or there's a steady stream of new people finding you. This looks like, again, posting consistently, speaking consistently about your offer. That's another mistake I see people make when they have a service and then they don't even actually advertise it. And then they'll put one post up about it. And I'll be like, whoa, no way. I didn't know you offered that. And they'll be like, yeah, I've been selling that package for months. So you really do need to talk a lot about your offers and be very consistent with how you show up, but also it's being strategic and using things like a wait list. I love seeing coaches that host what they call coffee chats. I see this quite a lot. And I think all service providers, creators should be adopting this. And that is literally putting out to your audience hey, I'd love to meet you on Zoom for a coffee chat. Let's hear more about your business and your journey and your story. And there doesn't have to be a sales agenda. Maybe you're even fully booked, but you're still making a point to connect with your community, to connect with people, to start conversations. And for me, that is what really brings this framework all together and getting you towards that 10K month goal. Throughout this 4 steps, you will notice we were committed to, number 1, not just posting for the sake of posting. We're posting with intention. Number 2, the second thing you want to avoid is undercharging. Again, thinking about that offer structure and breaking down how many clients you need to work with to reach that 10K month. The other thing we need to stop doing is just getting caught in the comparison trap. And I know it's easier said than done. I know. I even get caught in that trap sometimes, but it's important to be able to recognize that and pull yourself out of that. And remember that story that I told you about the other social media manager who was charging half as much as me but had double the amount of followers, right? You never know the reality of what's happening behind the scenes in someone else's business. So why are you comparing yourself to someone's perfect curated snippet into their business on Instagram? Here are some final mindset shifts that I wanted to leave you with. Number 1, your follower count shouldn't be your only KPI. Your KPI should be focused on client results because that, my friend, is when it starts to snowball. When you can share client results, case studies, and social proof on your social media, that is when you're going to see the snowball of new clients coming in the door continuously. If you're just tracking your follower count, it's not going to work for you. The next mindset myth we need to bust is the 10K month doesn't necessarily come from doing more, from working more hours, from working yourself like a dog. It comes down to being strategic and doing more of the right thing. And this is where I want to call out anybody who maybe is seeing great views in their business and great growth on social media, but they're not seeing those conversions, right? The key isn't posting more viral videos or more videos to get views. It's like, okay, well, how could we dial that back a little bit and spend time on more strategic, conversion-focused content? And finally, the last mindset shift I want to leave you with is it's not about building a big brand. It's about building a business that pays you, because that is where lives are changed. That is where you get to experience working for yourself, the financial freedom, the time freedom. And it's why I'm so passionate about making videos like this, because I honestly do think it changes your life. But if you just keep chasing the idea of like a big business and obsessing over those vanity metrics, that doesn't actually change lives. So that is going to be it for this episode of the Dishing Up Digital podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure you're following along. I try to upload every week on my podcast. Sometimes it's just 3 times a month. So if you're looking for more content and you are listening on Apple or Spotify, come on over to YouTube, because sometimes I do YouTube only like videos or vlogs or tutorials. So definitely come have a nosy. If you're not already, come follow me on Instagram as well. You get to see all of my strategies in practice as I sell my offers and grow my business. And as usual, thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you next week.